Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hello guys, we are master degree students from University of 11 Maret. My name is Wahyu Indah Malarohmana and my partner Puput Yagi Mahastu. We are currently conducted a research and right now we would like to present our research paper entitled Why Students Do Error in Recount Text Writing. Our paper will relate it to 21st century learning and the first will be explained by my partner.
Okay, the first part of our presentation is about the reason why we conduct our research. The first is we use some theory from some experts. The first is the theory from Hockey. Said that writing is not simply arranging sentences into a paragraph and setting each paragraph one after another, but it involves organization of thoughts and usage of English language and imagination. As we know that writing is the one of four skills that will be important for the English learner. So this is why language is so important in writing. And then why students do some error? It is because the language target has a different system with first language. So we conduct our research to analyze some error that made by student. Student has some difficulty in writing which is appropriate with the rule or language system. The student is do some error because the language system of English is different with language system of Bahasa Indonesia. The student have some problem usually in lack of vocabulary, grammatical, word choice, and interlanguage in certain context. In this case, we conduct our research based on a problem statement. The first is what kind of error in student context writing, and the second is what is solution suggested to minimize student error.
So in our research, we use some element of research method. We use qualitative research and the type is descriptive qualitative. Why? Because in our analysis and in our finding and discussion, we analyze the data and we describe it in the sentence or a word form. In choosing our research subject, we use purposive sampling and we got 5 students in their 9th grade in SMPN 1 Maospati. And in collecting the data, we use 3 kinds of data collections. The first one is documentation, the second is interview, and the third is observation. The first one in documentation, we use 2 kinds. The first one, we use students recount writing, and the second, we use the students score in their writing or in their report card. The second is we interview the students and also the teacher. In interviewing the students, we ask them what they feel when they are given the writing task. And in interviewing the teacher, we ask the teacher how is the progress of their students' writing. And in observation, we observe the teaching and learning processes in the classroom. After explaining the method, the procedures of error analysis itself comes from James, 1998 and 77. The first one is identifying the errors of the student's writing. The second is we locate the errors. The third is we describe the error that we found. The fourth is we classify the error that we found. So after collecting the data, we analyze and we make the finding and discussions. So for the finding and discussion, we classified it into the 3 categories. The first one is the grammaticals. As the sample, the first sample is to cut my hand when I cry and then hide in the wardrobe. In this one, the student didn't have the consistency in using the verb. As we know that the recount text writing demanded to use the verb to, but the students didn't change it into the verb to form. It should be cried and hit. The second, it also the misuse of object pronoun. It should be, I imagine my father would be angry and never let me write again, not my write again.
The second finding of our research in student error is in word choice. You know that word choice Meaning normally involves concept and their relation in lexical field. According to Hemsworth and Smith, collocation is a word or phrase that is frequently used together with another word or phrase by native speaker. In this case, the student do a combination of the word, but it is not inappropriate. And in our research, in our analysis, we divide the word choice into superonym for hyponym, hyponym for superonym, and inappropriate co-hyponym, and the last is near synonym. You can see in the example. After climbing ladder, the made me tired enough finally we reached the high part of Borobudur. In this in this word, ladder is not suitable with the context of the sentences. And then the second example is the word specialties. There were so many people who did all kinds of specialties in Malang City. The word specialties is has a has a generalization of the word souvenir. So spirituality should be changed into the word souvenir. And then the last analysis is in language interference. Language interference based on Richard that interlanguage interference refers to the item that is produced by the student which reflect generalization of the mother language based on partial exposure to the target language. As I explained before, that a language it has a different system from the target language with the language first. And this in this case, the student do some error because they often do translation from the Bahasa Indonesia and to into English. So they still influenced by the system of Bahasa Indonesia. We can see in the example. Not to forget, we also took some photo in there to memorize it. Not to forget is inappropriate in the use of English. And then the second is in there many prehistory things restored. You know that in Bahasa Indonesia, in there means di sana, but in English there is enough to present that the student want to explain that in there are many prehistory things restored. And in our research, we have some suggestion for the teacher to minimize student error. We suggest a technique named critical thinking. Critical thinking can be defined as an active intellectual process where the individual will observe, analyze, and reflect on new knowledge and integrate it into their current understanding. This critical thinking techniques is related to the 21st learning. The students should emphasize all of the learning, especially in writing and reading for the critical thinking, because critical thinking consists of some steps. The first step is observe, and then analyze, evaluate, contextualize, question, and the last is reflect. Before the student has their writing, they should observe and analyze what they are going to write, and then evaluate it, and then they can contextualize and question it. And the last is conclude what they are writing. So this critical thinking can be a good suggestion for the teacher to minimize student error.
So after we conduct the research, we conclude some conclusions, and we found that the students make the error in two types. That is grammatical and interlanguage interference. So for the conclusion itself, we find that the error analysis is important to track the students' writing ability, because by describing and classifying the learner error, the teacher can know how far the students or the learners have learned or understood the lessons. So for the citations of the research, the first one is giving easier grammar explanations. The second is the teacher should provide the critical thinking aspect. And the third, the teacher should use a genre-based approach to dig out the students' critical thinking. And the fourth is the teacher should uh, train the writing ability of students by drilling and giving the writing assignment. The five is always giving feedback of their writing. And after giving the feedback, the students should be asked how they feel about the feedback that is given by the teachers.
So that's all about our research in our presentation. We hope that our research can be useful for the audience. We would like to say
Thank you.
see you.
Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.